All right, and after that, let's shift our focus to the viewpoint, and let's just take a look at what we are going to be tackling this particular hour. We all know that the past 1 week has been full of political tension and bickering. That what's been happening since last week's court, there's a Court of Appeals judgment on the BBI, and now gloves are off, as they are putting it. And even on our local dailies, it's now bare knuckle between the president and his deputy. That is what's happening in the country right now. The political temperatures are slowly but surely starting to heat up. What are we expecting moving forward as Kenyans, and even as our politicians are now strategizing for the next general election? Ladies and gentlemen, so in studio I have Wakili, who is still joining me once again. Wakili, thank you so much for joining us once more.
Good morning, Mr. Victor, and good morning to our viewers.
Karibu sana. And yes, and Wendy, who is Executive Director of Young Women Leaders Connect, who is also joining me once again. Karibu, Wendy.
Thank you so much. Good morning, everyone.
Karibu sana. We all know what happened last week, and perhaps just to bottle it up today, first of all, Wakili, did you expect whatever we experienced last week? Did you expect it, the outcome of the court's ruling?
To some extent, yes, I expected. For one, and I think I mentioned the other time we were here, if you look at the issues that the High Court upheld, there are 23 issues. And one thing, and Kenyans didn't notice, all those issues were interlinked, meaning that if you had to if the Court of Appeal had to dismiss one issue, it would affect the entire BBI process. If you had to agree with the High Court that IBC was not fully constituted, pursuant to Article 250, then you invalidate the whole process. If you had to agree that President Oloo Kenyatta was not the right person, the promoter, pursuant to Article 257, then you invalidate the whole process. So it's true that all those 23 issues were interlinked, and it was very hard for the process or for the BBI to be, I think, to go on. So
basically, the whole process was flawed from the word go?
Yeah, from the word go. I think there are only two issues or three issues in the one that the High Court upheld that probably wouldn't have affected a Court of Appeal ruling, like probably the presidential immunity pursuant to Article 143. But on the other issue, almost 17 or 18 issues, they were interlinked in a way that if you had to agree with one issue in the High Court, it automatically meant that BBI had gotten to its end.
What about you, Wendy? Did you expect that ruling?
Let me say, definitely there was a 50-50 expectation from the ruling. For those who are supporting the BBI, definitely they were expecting that it was going to go through because of the pros that are in it, the good things that are in the content, and those who are against it from the word go, they were expecting it to be nullified. So I can say that BBI is a conversation that, despite the ruling, which it is now as citizens to abide by the court ruling, there are still open ways of pursuing Article 255 through the Parliament, because now we were pursuing the popular initiative, but now the court has ruled that we cannot hold the referendum right now because of the IBC constitution and all that, the other statements that were given by the court. But I think for those who are pro-BBI, because there were things that we believed that the BBI provisions were going to improve. If you look at the 9-point agenda that were being discussed in the BBI, I mean, the country needs it. It's not about the people we initiated. And if you look at the question was if Raila Odinga and Uhuru Kenyatta are the people initiated through the handshake. The question was if the two figures are common wananchi, are able to represent the people, because if the popular initiative are supposed to come from the people. So I think that was the main issue there. But there are still windows of how we can still pursue the provisions, because we still have the provision to the Article 256 to amend through Parliament, though I know that we have already 7 pending bills in the Parliament. So there are 3 that are already almost in the second reading, and if we now break it down, I think they can pursue through several MPs taking the bills to the Parliament. So that is an option for those who really wanted the BBI to go through. So for the expectation, it was a 50-50. The country was divided in terms of expectation. If
at all, Wakili, the argument is that IEBC, according to the courts, is that was not properly constituted. So where do we stand as a country? Because IEBC so far has conducted so many by-elections in this country.
I think that's the situation that court did in a very Pandora's, it opened what we call the Pandora's box in a way that even the chair or the president of the Kenya Law Society was also elected with the same IEBC, including the president of the Court of Appeal was also elected through the same IEBC. So what they are creating is what I would call a constitutional crisis, in a way that you say a body that was not fully constituted, and it has had an opportunity to carry some by-election or certain election like those one for LSK and the president of the Court of Appeal. And I think it's the reason why the AG finding it within his jurisdiction to go and appeal the Court of Appeal ruling, which he still has an window. The only challenge is that I don't think whether the Supreme Court will be able to overturn the ruling of these 2 courts, the High Court and the Court of Appeal. But certainly as to some issues like the presidential immunity, that one they may decide to set it aside. Although the court also was very clear in terms of Article 143, where you can sue the president. And it stated that you can sue the president in his own personal capacity. Giving an example, perhaps Victor, tomorrow you are the neighbor to the president or state house or his resident home, and his dog happens to bite you. Then you ask the question, can you be able to sue him? And the court said that you can be able to sue him now that that one is not in a constitutional law. But when he's now performing his constitutional law, he enjoys that what we call a presidential immunity. So you cannot be able to sue him. So certainly the AG will be going to the Supreme Court to ask for certain interpretation in that Article 143. And I think if you see like the Court of Appeal was able to overrule the High Court in terms of whether the president contravened Article Chapter 6 of the Constitution, and it stated that the president was not properly served through what we call in law the service of a motion. So certainly the AG is right, and what my colleague has said is also true, that we can also continue pursuing the parliamentary initiative through Article 256. The danger with that is that the courts established that our Kenyan Constitution has what we call the basic structure. And it states that the basic structure doctrine is not limited to Article 255, sub-Article 1, A to J. It's limited to the preamble, the 18 chapters of the Constitution, and the 6 schedules. And one of the issues that I saw that the parliamentarian want to use do the Article 256 is also the delimitation of the boundaries, right, which the court pronounced pursuant to Article 89. It's a sole law of IEBC. So I think I also foresee a situation where if the parliament started the initiative, some will also go to rush to court, and of course use the precedence of the High Court and the Court of Appeal to support his case.
All right. Let's just flip briefly and talk about where we've now been left politically in the country, because it seems like the whole of that process has now opened a whole kind of political reactions, and everybody is now taking advantage of that court ruling. Wendy, this is what we've been treated to since last Friday, right?
Yes.
The political temperatures are already boiling up. Did you really expect this to open the political Pandora's box the way he's putting it now, that all politicians are now taking advantage of the situation and running with it quite literally?
Definitely. Before the BBI ruling, everyone was waiting for the Friday.
Yeah.
The Friday ruling. Everyone was holding on to the decisions before that day. I think because it has a lot of implications, especially in terms of alignments, in terms of political groupings. So because now that if you look at now the side of those who are supporting Baba, and he has given a go-ahead that that life has to go on, that BBI was just a conversation that started, and it is a conversation that will continue through other means. So for those who are opposing BBI, I've seen they already, the Tanga group, they've already started taking it up, as we told you from the onset that this is that the court has now defended the people's right. They've now found a reason to now move around with, to claim that actually the whole BBI process was against the will of the people. But you see, if you look keenly right now, I think moving forward we'll now see people starting to align themselves, because I think the train has left the station, and right now if you need to know the Oka people, are you in Oka or not? And we are definitely looking forward to the Oka decisions. Apart from that, now we have the Team Ruto, we have Baba declared that it is going to be on ballot. So I think it was a major decision time for politicians. And moving forward, even the statements they're going to give in public rallies, in churches, it's going to be linked to BBI, because now that is the hot topic right now. And yeah, definitely, it has shaped a lot of strategies, and everyone was keen to see what is going to happen, because they were imagining if it was supposed to pass, then we were to hold a referendum technically. So now that the referendum is not there and we're now focusing on the general election, now you have to play your card, you have to look at the cards you have on the table and see how you're going to play them right. So yes, it was a defining moment for many politicians, and we look forward to see how the alignments go.
Wakili, the train is off.
Yeah, the train is off, and as I mentioned when I was in this show the other time, Raila Odinga was hoping to use BBI as a precursor for 2022 election. So now the horse is dead, he can no longer ride on it. And what I also meant is that in politics there is what we call a political momentum. Certainly the BBI was to raise some political momentum. Either way, the ruling was to be made. If the Court of Appeal had overturned the High Court decision, certainly the Raila Uhuru side would be raising with the momentum. They say in politics, you milk the cow to its last milk. So certainly the Ruto side are now happy, and you remember on Saturday he gave a more of a speech, and bringing himself or earning what I would call political credence to what the court had ruled on Friday. So certainly to fast forward to reform decision as we go forward, and allow people will be able now to realign themselves now without hoping or banking on BBI, especially for Mheshimiwa Raila Odinga.
Let's allow me just to respond to what he said. I think BBI was more of a catalyzer in the whole process. It wasn't really the only stone to ride on, I mean. So now that it is an option that is not there right now, I think it was not the only target we had, because it won't, in one way, the mission of BBI, whatever the mission was, I think it was achieved to the now to the level it has reached. But it won't in any way affect the presidency. If he really wanted to go to the ballot, I think he's someone who will still go to the ballot, with or without BBI. If
you look at after the ruling, the deputy president took to the podium and gave a formal speech. President Uhuru Kenyatta did not give a formal speech. After that, Honorable Raila Odinga did not give a formal speech, and perhaps with the ANC leader Musalia Mudavadi. But our focus is why would the deputy president come out and give a formal speech after the ruling on that particular event? That was on Saturday. Wakili.
Let me first have the light of rebuttal on what he has said. And you know, BBI was two things. There was BBI, the document, what was a noble idea, or an agenda, a national agenda, and there was now the BBI, the politics. BBI as a document probably is not what has failed. But BBI as politics, it was probably Mheshimiwa Raila Odinga in the restructuring, or call it the expansion of expanding the executive, was probably hoping, or if Mheshimiwa Raila Odinga, BBI would have gone to referendum and probably won, it would have given him what would have rejuvenated himself politically. So that's what I meant. For Mheshimiwa Ruto giving a speech on Saturday, it's what I mentioned earlier. He has been wanting to take a political credence on what happened in the Court of Appeal. Now that the majority of the people are now on the side of Court of Appeal, just like they say, success has many fathers. So he's proven to be one of those fathers in this Court of Appeal success. And what I can say, just to caution him, the issue of Court of Appeal and the ruling of BBI are what I would call doctrine of separation of power politics. They have nothing to do with tanga or handshake politics.
I see Wendy smiling when you talk of success. I've got so many fathers. I don't know how that is going to be.
He is a politician, yet to ride on that moment.
Exactly. But then now, the issue of since Saturday, the two gentlemen have now gone head on. And even if you look at the front page of the Daily Nation, gloves are off. And since that day, the president and his deputy seemingly are now reading quite literally from different script. What are we likely to see moving forward, Wendy?
I think it's not a new thing. This the breakup of this marriage started way back, even before now the recent interview by President Uhuru. But
perhaps this now looks like
he's now come boldly to talk about it, and I think it's the right thing, because there's no way you can have if you are a deputy to someone, then it means that the same presidency. The presidency is an institution in itself. So if you are part of it as the deputy, then it means that you're supposed to be part and parcel of that presidency. If that presidency fails, you will be part of that history. So because you will say during the tenure of President Uhuru, he was deputized by so-and-so. So I think he had to come out boldly, because it's something that is, it is due. It is time. It's due. It has been due for long, and because and he clearly stated that he's going around talking about the achievements of the Jubilee government, and then in other forums he's criticizing the same government. So he really needs to come out and let the people know where he stands, because you cannot be criticizing the same government that you are under, and you are actually in the presidency. So it is something that coming out boldly was something that we really waited for. But already Kenyans, everyone know that the marriage has not been working since time immemorial. And you've seen that now Ruto is coming now to get head on with the President Uhuru. So I think right now, now it's we are reaching the climax of all this. And it's now or never. BBI, we've been waiting for the ruling. It's now over. I think it was now the ideal time to come out and talk about this is now the reality of what is happening in the government. We don't have a united government. That is what has been happening. But now it's in capital letters that really the president and the deputy are not in good terms. And it is the country that is going to, and has been, that has been affected. And if you look at the claims by the deputy, he claims that this is because of the handshake when the whole BBI started, diverting from the Big Four agenda. But you cannot again talk about the diversion from the Big Four agenda if the achievements you're talking about, the roads, electricity, the urban, the rural electrification, all that are under Agenda 4, the health sector. So if the universal healthcare. So if you're talking about the achievements, all that, it is the Big Four agenda, which at the same time you are criticizing that it is the government, the same government that you are in, has diverted from. So I think it was just a drama that was we were expecting anyway. It is something that we were expecting. It was not something hidden anywhere. It has been there for some time.
Wakili, the president perhaps must have been so patient with his deputy.
You know, Victor, to get the answer to your question, you must look way back in 2012, 2013. What was the common denominator or the ideological between President Uhuru Kenyatta and his deputy coming together? It was the ICC where they were told you are either hanged separately or you'll be hanged together. So over time, to 9 to 10 years, now the interests have changed. One is planning on how to get into power. The other one is fighting for his legacy or exit strategy. So those are the two contradistinguishing issues. So from there, then you whatever is happening in Kenya has its reference in what happened in Nigeria in 2007 between Obasanjo and Abubakar. Some extent where the president could not support his deputy. Popular. So certainly, yes, I think interests have changed over time. The ICC, which was the unifying factor for the both of them, is no longer there. And this also tells us a lot about the Kenyan politics and the engagement and the formation of to some extent that they have not been considering of a national agenda or serious ideology, other than factors that such as those of ICC, or factors that we want to gun together to hunt a certain particular person.
As it stands, the president has nothing. He has nothing to do, just until they go to the next poll, right? Constitutionally.
Constitutionally, yes. If you read Article 147, Article 148, Article 147 is of the role of the Deputy President. He's the principal assistant to the President. Article 148 is how the Deputy President can be removed out of power. And looking, if you compare the Constitution we have for 2010 and the one that we had for 1969, for 1969 it was easy for a president to dismiss his deputy. And I want to predict or tell you, if we were still using the same constitution, I think William Ruto would be dismissed a long time ago, allowed 2017 or 2018. And you know, for now, what he is enjoying is what we call the security of tenure. So it's true that the president now can't dismiss him. He can only be impeached or he resigned voluntarily. But I don't foresee him doing that for 2 or 3 reasons. One, the immunity that he enjoys. Secondly, the leverages he gets. If you see all his meetings, he has been holding them in his current residence. And of course, for now, he also enjoys receiving what I would call intelligence without necessarily using his own structure or party structure. So it's true. The president, there is no way the president can do. The only thing he can do is probably engineer an impeachment through his people in parliament.
But Wendy, talk of Wakili is talking about impeachment through parliament. The Jubilee administration is completely split. The deputy president, on that hand, walked away with a certain chunk of Jubilee MPs in parliament. That is near impossible to happen in parliament right now.
It will take a lot of yeah, it take a lot of more effort to actually do the impeachment, because now I think they're almost 50-50 in the parliament, and the MPs have come out clearly to clearly state whether they are pro-Ruto or against him. And if you look at the meetings he was having at his current residence, it clearly shows that they have those who are really on his side, and yeah, it will take more effort to really impeach him. So I think the president really should just focus on the remaining months, because it's less than a year. Yeah, if we really wanted to do that, if that was a card we wanted to play, I think we should have done it way back. But now it's less than a year to the next election. He should focus on maybe finishing his term, leaving the best legacy he can, and right now handling the COVID issue with the vaccinations coming up. I think that should be his focus. And if it was about getting distracted from your deputy being against you, it started way back. I think this is the right time to start thinking about the impeachment. Think of how we are going to have fair elections, how we are going to constitute the IBC, how we are going to add more vaccines to the country, how we are going to improve healthcare and all that. So I think he has more pending and more necessary issues to really deal with in the last less than 1 year to go. Yeah.
Whatever we're being treated to as a nation, we've never experienced this before, where the president and his deputy are at loggerheads for an entire term.
Yeah.
This is something that Kenya has never experienced before. From your own perspective, what do you make of this?
You see, from the history of Kenya, we've never had a vice president who ascended to presidency immediately. We've never had. And maybe if he is attempting to do that, which may not be so easy for him. So I think it's about him realizing that he wants to get to that seat, but he now started it so early, and he started diverting, getting entangled in all that politics way early. That is now the conflict. So yes, it is something that we've never seen, and I think it's about, everyone is looking at his own interest. Everyone is looking at how he's going to create his space at the position he wants, and the presidency is something that everyone is running for. So definitely, yeah, it's something we've never seen as Kenyans if you look at the history. But again, history tells a lot. If history really matters, and a lot of things have been related to history, and it is something to watch out for. But I don't really think that you can just, in the first shot, just get ascend to the presidency from the vice presidency. Yes.
Wakili, in a situation where, the 48 laws of power, is it really healthy for, well, your boss is on this end, but as his deputy, is this something proper to come out openly and start opposing your boss in an open manner? Because the biggest issue was the handshake, then came the BBI, whom the deputy president all through opposed to this particular end. As Wendy is putting it, this is not something that we are used to as a nation. Did you ever get ready for such an experience?
Robert Green's in his first law, in the 48 laws of power, certainly states the way you have stated. But in his 28th law of power, to be precise, he states that if you have to enter political action, enter or get into it with a lot of boldness. And I think that's what Mr. William Ruto, the deputy president, is trying to do. And certainly the reason why they have been such a loggerhead for a long time, it's the security of tenure that the deputy president is enjoying. If it was those days of Moi, or we were still under the leadership or the governorship of the 1969 Constitution, I think he would be sacked a long time ago. So certainly whatever you have said is true. You should probably go head to head with your boss. But I think one time Deputy President William Ruto mentioned that whatever made them lose in the year 2002 is that Moi had told them to wait and they happen to have done the campaign very late. So I think we say that give the devil its due. He's been very focused, very consistent, and very hardworking in whatever he's doing in terms of the presidency, running for the going for the higher seat. Whether he'll get it or not, I think time will tell.
Yeah. Wendy, let me just quote what the Deputy President said here yesterday. He said that I don't have the luxury to surrender because I'm a man on a mission to ensure that the jobless, those who are running small businesses and farmers who are struggling become part of this particular nation. Of course, he's been talking about the hustler nation and the bottom-up model of economy.
Yeah.
What are we likely to see now that BBI is water under the bridge and we have this is what we call the final lap?
Yeah.
In athletics, this is the final lap. What are we likely to see?
My concern will be what different are you bringing on board, or what different are you going to tell us? Because the Jubilee, you are part of the Jubilee government, and if it is ending, yes, you are part of the legacy. And if right now you are talking about the Mama Mboga, the Juakali young people, the hustler nation. Yeah. This is part of the nation that has been the focus in the Jubilee government. And if President Uhuru, through the Big Four agenda, has been targeting this marginalized sector, I don't really see what new that is going to be brought to the table. If you look at the affirmative funds that have been introduced, they've been existing all this while. If you're talking about the bottom-up approach, about now they're focusing on the people at the local level, but there has been strategies by the Jubilee government to do that. So I'm really concerned about what new are you talking about that is not or has not been in the manifesto of the Jubilee government, which is part of. I think though Kenyans, we are really blinded by, I don't know, it is a weakness in us that we get blinded by these sweet words. But if you look at the depth of these words, you cannot practically explain what they mean, because if you're talking about the hustler nation and you're talking about the Jubilee manifesto, in a way, there are strategies that I see that are related to the bottom-up approach. Now that this is now a model that has its name quoted bottom-up. If the focus is on the Mama Mbogas, and he's been going around talking about, for example, the electrification, that we've done roads. I think those roads and those electricity, this is what the people at the ground need. The people won't need coming to their doors and giving them money, giving them handouts, giving them mkokotenis. That is not empowerment that we are talking about, empowering the people at the ground. It's about bringing water to the level that the Mama Mboga can reach, making the roads accessible to the markets, making the prices and the taxes go down, making it affordable. So I think it's about creating that ideal environment for the people. That is what we mean by empowering people at the grassroots. If it is about the funds, the government funds, it should be now about, if the funds are there, what are we doing about strengthening to reach more people at the locals? So I think he may mean, how he put it, seems like it's something we are going to be brought to door. That is how he puts it, that we are going to come to your houses door to door. But I mean, we don't need coming to us personally and giving us that money. We can make the money, but we just need the good environment. We need the ideal environment. And right now with the COVID-19 pandemic, the economy, what we need to focus on is now the economy, making it better and favorable for the people at the lowest level. So for me, I don't expect anything out of the norms. It is everything we've been talking about, but now we've not been doing them. So it's not something new but now as Kenyans, we'll definitely be blinded by the sweet words. So I think it's just time for Kenyans to wake up.
Kenyans just to wake up. Wakili, what's your take on that?
Of course, rural economy, hustler nation, bottom up, all these are sloganeers, call them bubbles or hot air, meant to excite the masses by the ethnic elite. and certainly will take them nowhere. We are living in a country where we are highly indebted. So some of these programs that politicians mention, you really wonder how they will be implemented when they get into power. But anyway, they are good agendas, because now we are now moving our politics to discussing of economy. Though the economy being brought by our politicians are not sustainable if you look at our debt. And we can only watch and see how. But either way, you see these are decoys that are there to excite the masses and probably make sure that the masses elect a certain candidate. And what the deputy president has realized, he has realized that in these COVID times, Kenyans are going through many suffering. So he has been the embodiment of those Kenyan suffering, and are now pretending that or coining himself like he'll be now the savior in those suffering that Kenyans are certainly going through. And if you look in the writing of one writer called Gigi Lusas, he says for you to govern, you must have two elements. One, you must sell hope to the people. Secondly, you must sell fear to the people. In the year 2017, Mount Kenya, for them to elect President Kenyatta, they were sold what we call the Raila phobia. And for Raila to make sure that his backyard elect him, he sold them the hope of going to Canaan. So we'll see many of those slogans or narrative coming up as we gear to 2022. Yeah.
Okay, so the question is, the deputy and his boss are not seeing eye to eye, and as he said, he's a man on a mission. So we expect a lot to happen moving forward. But for the unity of this particular nation, politicians are likely to, you know, as you put it, to sell fear. That is one rule in politics. You have to sell fear. But what is our role as a country, as individuals? Starting with you, Wendy, even as we wind up.
Okay, I think it's a mandate of every Kenyan citizen to be really sober in terms of making decisions. The electoral processes is now coming on board. We are now about to start the registration processes by the IBC, and just the first mandate will be just exercising your right in a sober way. I think we've been blinded a lot for a long time, and most of the time you find people crying after electing in regimes. They cry full of what the government has not done and being failed by the same government that we elected. It's a mandate for all citizens to just look at now the current situation. Even we look at the politicians before they come to our doors. Let's look at the opportunities that are there, the challenges that we're facing right now in the middle of a pandemic, and it should really push us to making the right decisions. That will be my challenge to all citizens. And also, if in terms of coming out to register, and that is part of exercising your constitutional right. I would urge Kenyans to really go to the ballot this time around, because I think there's also fear of, I'm tired of electing failed governments. I'm tired of I'm tired of choosing between two people, the same people. There's that feeling of Kenyans, and that has really slowed down the really activities of going to vote, and that itself is a failure on us. And I think we have a time frame, we have the opportunity right now ahead of us to really do what is right, and making right choices is what will make this country right. And in terms of unity, I think we need to go beyond our tribal lines. We've done it since independence, and it's not really helping us. And thanks to Handshake, I think right now it has improved at least to some level. And I hope tribalism won't be really the main vocabulary in next year's election.
Absolutely. The key word is go there, make sure that you register as a voter, and this time around, make a decisive decision. Yes, Wakili.
Certainly, we say that politics is a tradition of conflict. So I would urge and encourage my fellow citizens that we really avoid conflicts between politicians. We don't get entangled into it. And politics is also a game of interest. So all these politicians, certainly before they think of which load they will make for you, we say for them those are normally cosmetic things.
Yeah.
The key thing for them is their interest. So I also would urge Kenyans in the same note, they also look into their interest, and as they choose or pick a leader, they also look at their interest other than looking for other things or exciting things like the narrative or these sloganeers.
Yeah.
Secondly, what my colleague has said, the only thing Kenyans are left with is general will of the people through voting. We normally say that when you are choosing a president, a governor or a senator, you are certainly getting into a social contract between yourself or that leader for 5 years. So it's good, even as we get for the in the next general election, you evaluate the contract you got into between your leader and yourself. If he or she didn't perform, then you'll know whether you'll be able to renew the contract with the same person, or you'll onboard another person in another new contract.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay. I think that's the perfect spot to end this. Thank you so much. We'll be speaking to Warungu Mwangi, who is a lawyer and advocate of the High Court, and Wendy, who is Executive Director of Young Women Leaders Connect. Thank you so much for your time. But we are taking a break. Jane Wamboy will be coming up next with an amazing woman. Wow, you don't need to miss that. My name is Victor Lowe. We'll be back after this break.